Next item, please.
Citizen participation. I would like to warn everyone that we have more than 58 comments. So get yourself comfortable as I read these aloud. They are mostly on agenda items 10 and 11, the remote learning plan. I mean, they're all obviously related to the COVID outbreak. So they're also very poignant. You'll hear a lot of people talking about their kids' experience. So citizen participation, citizens wishing to address the board on agenda and non-agenda items for action can complete a blue card in person at the Administrative Service Center or complete a virtual blue card posted at noon on Monday at the district's news website. Cards forms received by 7:10 will be read by the board secretary. The board may not be in a position to respond to non-agenda items. Therefore, speakers should not anticipate an immediate response to their comments or questions. For the benefit of all concerned, please do not mention the names of students or school district employees. Please keep your comments as brief as possible. The board president reserves the right to limit times.
Secretary Lane, let me interrupt you for a second. I do have two blue cards here.
Yep.
And I know the parents got some younger ones at home, so I'd like to get them going, if you don't mind.
Please.
Okay. Our first blue card request comes to us from Stephanie Butler from Dearborn. Would like to speak to us regarding school of choice and virtual learning. Stephanie, please. If you're comfortable removing your mask, it's okay. If you don't want to, that's okay too. It's up to you.
School of choice, gonna talk off record on this one for this first time afterwards if possible. Obviously parents are concerned about their children, but it's just baffling that we're having these conversations about sports and football and all these things that some may find important while others don't. Things that I find important as a resident of Dearborn are going to work, paying my mortgage, keeping a house, a roof over my kid's head. I never went to school to be a teacher because I never felt I was qualified to do the job. I stand here today, I am still not qualified to do the job. And at the same time, I'm trying to juggle a full-time career. I have two in high school who pretty much do well on their own. It's the elementary students. I have a kindergartner who and a fourth grader, and can you imagine having them trying to Zoom at the same time, screaming at each other? I mean, I try to separate them, but like today, for an example, our interior got painted. I couldn't separate them, so they were together. So I'm getting emails, they didn't do X, Y, Z. What do you want me to do? I also have to conduct business, right? So instead of focusing on football, sports, wrestling, things that are just, like I said, they're not important to some. You know, I have a 5-year-old, just 5. Mama, when can I go to real school? I don't want to do this, Mama. I can barely get him to sit still for 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes of a Zoom meeting, right in the morning, we're already taking a break. The teacher will say, well, I think we need to stretch, and, you know, you're talking about 5-year-olds. So if we're going to focus on things, let's focus on things like utilizing empty buildings and at least getting our K through 5 in-person instruction. We have a lot of empty buildings right now. We could at least do that. I think it sucks for middle school, high school, but I think it's easier for the parents to manage. They can still conduct business, work. I can't take a call and be on a Zoom meeting at the same time. I can't control the situation. What about single mothers? You know, thankfully I have a husband at home, but what about people who can't? Nobody's paying us to stay home. Nobody. So it comes down to education, which is very important to us, or paying the bills. How do you choose between those two? And we're sitting here talking about high school sports. So I just wanted to come on record and just say it's been really challenging, especially for a mom of kindergartner just going in who doesn't understand, and we're trying to normalize masks and things like that. And maybe Dearborn's position is different than our position at home. And so it's kind of like they're getting a lot of information, parent side, teacher side, it's confusing for a little brain. So I just think that maybe we should focus on just figuring out how we can get the K through 5 into in-person instruction, at least in small numbers, if anything. So, but that's all I had to say. Thank
Stephanie,
you.
you're not wrong. We spoke numerous of
I
times.
know.
You're not wrong. I just want to make it very, very clear that that's why I asked for this report for about regarding high school sports. Right away last spring, decisions were made. See, now at the middle school sports, we have 7 middle schools, and they have their own league. So those are decisions we controlled. Right away, we said, okay, there's not going to be fall sports. So I want to make sure that the audience knew that this is something out of control. Now, do we support athletics? Of course we do. Do we support the music, the arts? Of course we do. Anybody going to tell you that that's more important than the education, the English and the math and the read? Nobody's going to tell you that. So you're not wrong. I spoke to many, many, many parents, like we all did. They're the same situation that you're in. So you've got, your high schools are doing good. I have one. We have one that's doing in high school. She's doing very, very well. I have grandkids in elementary, so I can relate. So, but we're making decisions not just for 2 kids or 1 child, 1 student. We're making decisions for almost 25,000 people in our city.
And you know the nature of the business too.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's-
Yeah, no, I understand. I
And
understand.
some people who are saying, let's keep our kid at home, that's fine. That's totally their choice.
Yeah.
But think about the dynamics in the background of that household. Is it a working father and the mother stays at home? I mean, that's ideal. Of course,
Yeah.
anybody can,
Sure.
with challenges still
Sure.
be able to take that on.
Sure.
But what if you're in a family where you have 2 people that are
You
working
both have to
outside the
work.
home? Nobody's given us any choices, no
Yeah.
options, no choices.
I don't know if you were listening to the beginning of the meeting when they went over the report. These decisions aren't taken lightly. There's probably about 80 very intelligent people who sit around and talk about this every day.
Well, then how
And
do
they're
we say
thinking
high
now-
school football or middle, is more important than, let's say, playing the violin? I mean,
Yeah,
how do you
nobody's saying that.
determine?
Nobody's saying that.
No, but I
Yeah,
mean, we don't
yeah.
have music programs going. We don't
Yeah.
have any of a Lego club, which my children enjoy at Duval. I mean,
And again, right now, you're making me look good because that's why we asked for that report
Mm-hmm.
about the association to say that that's out of our control. That's out of our control. So thank you very much.
welcome.
Yeah, you're always welcome to address us. The other blue card is from Nancy Randazzo, also from Dearborn, would like to speak to us regarding school issues.
Hi, it was really nice. She filled out the blue card for me. So I'm Nancy Randazzo Abdul Sader, and this is my 2nd year of having a child in Dearborn Public Schools. I have my son. His name is Yusuf, and he had an IEP done at Whitmore Bowles, and this is his first year at Duval, so elementary. He's going into kindergarten. The first thing I wanted to say was, I'm really concerned about when you guys talk about safety, I'm just not hearing a lot about how safe is it children wearing masks while they're playing sports. Have you guys looked at safety studies regarding this? Also, putting 6-year-olds, 5-year-olds in some instances, in front of computers for hours in the day. So my son doesn't sit down for long periods of time because of his special needs. Nobody really contacted me and gave me the grand overview of what's being asked of me. I've heard lots of encouraging words from multiple specialists that are involved in his enrichment and learning. And it feels like gaslighting to me because I'm hearing them all tell me the same thing, but I'm feeling very self-righteous in the fact that it doesn't make sense what's being asked of me. So let me tell you what's being asked of me. I have 4 children. I have a 6-year-old who has special needs. I have a precocious preschool 4-year-old, and preschool was canceled through community education, a program I was really happy with. I have a 2-year-old, and I have a newborn nursling who is about, almost 60 days old, so 2 months. Okay, I've gotten maybe a small handful of emails, some phone calls. They're trying to arrange some kind of meeting. What can they offer me? I really have been kind of talking. There's been some really odd suggestions made, like that I put the teacher on one screen and his parapro on another screen. so his parapro can talk to him while the button is on mute. And my husband's at work, and how am I supposed to manage this during the day? So I've been shutting the camera off and just listening to the teacher. And unfortunately, I'm not seeing eye to eye with friends and neighbors in that I really don't see her doing anything that I couldn't do myself. It's ABCs, numbers, simple math. He's 6 years old. But the big deal about it is that he's not a talker. You know, he is language delayed, and this is verified by the district. In his IEP, they gave me like stack of paperwork was done studying on him. So, you know, here's like more about what's being asked of me. What time I need to log him in, times he has to eat, times he gets to play, all of these things. And this is on me to manage in his day. It's very uncomfortable. And all I keep hearing from them is like, you can do it, you could do it. Or if you don't like it, pull them out and homeschool. And I know parents who have pulled their kids out and homeschooled. I don't blame them, because I thought that, you know, as a young mom, schools would be part of enriching my life. And I actually told a friend that. I said, you know, this is supposed to be a part of my neighborhood community and enrichment. She said, this is not supposed to enrich anybody's life. This is our response to the pandemic. As if that's supposed to be enough, like as if that response is supposed to be adequate for what's being asked of me. And I really feel like I wasn't thought of anywhere in this process. And I'm especially disappointed to hear everybody talking about masks and how we can get people to comply, because I personally am opposed to masking. And I know I'm not the only one, especially for children. And it's just, I don't know where the safety studies are on it. And I don't know where the safety studies are on putting 5-year-olds in front of 6-year-olds in front of screens all day. So when I hear you guys talking about this and taking it very seriously, right down to who is going to be enforcing masking at sports events, I'm feeling such a big disconnect with the community that I've been living in since 2015 is when we bought our house. So I just came here to voice my opinion on that. I heard the teacher reading the students a book to normalize masking for kindergartners. She was reading a book that I really liked to them called Not Forever, But For Now. And I don't know when this is going to end, and nobody is telling me also, but I am feeling very safe, except for how I feel like maybe my community's gone a little bit nuts. Not anybody personal. I know it's the law, and I want to be a law-abiding citizen too. But that's really what I came here to say, is that a lot is being asked of me, and it's just not making sense, and everybody is telling me the same thing, and I'm kind of standing my ground. Kindergartner on a nice day in front of a screen all day, not okay, really not okay. And the parents are okay with it. In my community, I see those little kids' faces on the screen. The teacher, she seemed to have like a more or less good day today. And I feel like if this is supposed to be working, why maybe it's just going to divide us between kids who do screen learning and kids who do in-person learning. I really want to hear more of, we're going back and it will go back to normal. But I'm not hearing a lot of that at all.
We will be going back to normal as soon as we have this under control or we have a vaccine. There's no doubt in our mind we will be going. We had that discussion earlier.
And then in my family, we do have exemptions on file, and I actively work at letting parents know that vaccines are not safe. For my family, they're not. People can do all the research they want, but if you're not doing any research, you're not doing your child any favors, because there are a lot of ethical implications in vaccinations. And there's a lot of health consequences from them also. There's a great group, nonprofit group in Michigan called Michigan for Vaccine Choice. And I would encourage anybody to look at that group. They have great lawyers and speakers on staff.
That's a philosophy. You know, you're on one side.
Actually, it's based on science.
Okay, I'll let you speak, and let you speak way past the 3 minutes. So now you give me a chance to speak, okay? Thank you. That's a philosophy that we're not going to solve here. You asked a lot of good questions that we're not the experts on, but we were taking notes and we will address and try to find out information. My main concern is you feel very, very frustrated that you don't have enough information how to help your son. Your phone number is on here. and you will get a phone call sometime tomorrow from somebody to kind of guide you. They're not gonna have all the answers for you, but to kind of get you going in the right direction. Fair enough?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm glad that my voice could be heard. I hope anybody who'd like to reach out to me who's watching this, you can, if you feel the same way I do, because if I really, am the only one that feels this way, then
No, you're not
maybe
the
it's
only
not
one
a
that
good
feels that way.
fit.
I can tell you that I've
Okay.
spoken to probably hundreds of people the past month. So have my colleagues. You're not the only one who feels that way. Well, we're just trying to do what we believe is the right thing, so.
Yeah,
I'm getting the
excited,
vibes
yeah.
from my colleagues right now that we usually say, hey, 3 minutes are up. We're close to 10
Yeah,
minutes now, so.
I meant to.
Thank
set
you
a
very
timer.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good evening. Thank you for participating today. Okay, Trustee Secretary Lane, floor is yours. And if you need help, please say so. If you want a break, David Musson said he'd step in. One of us would step in. Just please let us know.
Mary's. still
You're on mute.
Mary's on mute.
Now Mary's disappeared.
Okay, back to the comments. Amun Fawaz. Hello, Mr. Berry. I don't know if I should send my comment here, but I know you are meeting today with the board. I want to let you know that we are having problems with Zoom and it's gonna affect my kids' attendance. It's either taking too long to get connected or the teacher is taking long to let him in. So please try to find another solution. Thank you, I appreciate it. Next comment, Wafa Bazi of Dearborn, who is a parent. To whom it may concern, before I continue with sharing my opinion, I'd like to give you a little background about my situation. I'm a respiratory therapist working at the front line and saving the lives of those fighting COVID. I completely understand and respect the position that the district is in to try to protect their students and the community as a whole. My daughter is 5 years old and has never been to school prior to this kindergarten school year. For a year, she's had her backpack ready, picked out some dresses she'd like to wear to school, and talked endlessly about what she thinks she will do at school with new friends she was excited to make. Unfortunately, this school year has been very different than anyone could have ever imagined. My husband and I discussed what to do if the district offered to send kids to school at the parents' discretion. We decided if we were given the choice to decide between keeping her at home with virtual learning or sending her in person, we decided we would keep her at home to protect her and our loved ones. The decision was not left to us, and rather the district decided to do virtual learning for all grades. This was deep down in my heart a decision that I felt was the correct one to do. As we sat down in front of her Chromebook and prepared to meet her new teacher and classmates through a Zoom meeting, my daughter was ecstatic. She loved everything about her first day, despite her struggle to speak due to being shy. Before I discuss my daughter's struggles, I'd like to acknowledge the outstanding effort of my daughter's teacher. She has been put into such a difficult situation, and she has made it as smooth and enjoyable as possible. As the days went on, the struggles became worse and worse for my daughter. Simple things like speaking to her teacher and her teacher not being able to hear her due to my daughter's being muted, my daughter raising her hand to speak, but the teacher cannot see because her hand is raised high and not in front of the screen, other students talking and their screen maximizing, and she cannot see her teacher demonstrate what page she's on for the task they are to perform. Kindergarten is difficult as it is. So many new things to learn, and all of this topped off with a completely unrealistic expectation of a 5-year-old to sit in front of a computer screen for hours on end and press buttons, all while she does not know how to read them. This has led my daughter to be completely discouraged and feeling like she is not doing a good job, hindering any room for movement. My daughter's mental and emotional behavior has changed drastically since beginning virtual learning. I'm afraid if we do not do anything soon, the damage will be too far behind. Again, my daughter's teacher is doing a fantastic job providing photos of buttons she'd like them to press, video to get them up and distancing, frequent breaks to give them time to refocus. This is all just not enough. Kids at this age are struggling tremendously. After just a couple of weeks of virtual learning, my fear of sending my daughter in for face-to-face learning has completely vanished because I've learned that her mental state is also being jeopardized. I pray you will find ease in making such a difficult decision. However, I just wanted to give you a mother's perspective and observation on how this is affecting the young students. Thank you again for all the hard work the district is putting in. Next comment is from Mrs. Zainab Hamoud of Dearborn. Hello. I just want to express my concern for our children. I don't think it was right or fair that we were not given an option of choice of sending our kids back to school, and we were given the option only signing up for virtual learning and committing for the whole school year. Obviously, the parents that are not comfortable sending their children back at all had signed up for this, and that was their choice. But what about the rest of us? We didn't get a choice. Why is it that our kids can literally go everywhere but not school? The CDC has said it's safe for our kids to go to school, but instead my son has to sit in his room all alone with just him and a computer screen. No opportunities to make friends or talk to anyone like they normally would be in a classroom setting. I will say this. My son's teacher has been amazing through this new way of learning, but it is not good for our children's social and mental well-being. This is not school. These children need to be inside a classroom. Why can't we follow the schedule that they are doing remotely, but in person? Have our kids back in the classroom for 9 to 12 with lunches and specials being done at home? I just want our kids to feel like they're actually in school. They are missing out on so much in so many ways. I want to end by thanking all the teachers, staff, and administrators for how hard they have been working and everything they have been doing. And I just want them to know how much they are appreciated, and we all know this is not easy on anyone. Next comment. Mrs. Amjad Monyidin of Dearborn. My 8 children, Oakland School, parents and myself as a receptionist, good evening. As a parent, the Zoom meeting have been overwhelming to me and my children. My children are stressing out every day, every time they are marked absent. It takes numerous tries per class before they are connected. As for my Oakland PTA parents, they are so stressed out to the point they are crying. At Oakland, we are receiving numerous calls about Zoom. Our principal, support staff, and teacher have become techs trying to help out students and parents. Parents are trying to help us with the high demand. No one calls are being answered. We need to rethink Zoom and attendance. Next comment, Mrs. Zahra El-Zayed of Dearborn, a parent. Hello. We as parents are very frustrated and stressed out with this online learning. We cannot be constantly called on by the kids who keep asking what they are supposed to do. They are not able to sit still and use a computer to learn. They're getting frustrated too. We want physical school to resume. Miras Alt Waj, parent of a kindergartner and 2nd grader. My kids are too young for this vigorous virtual learning. They are getting bored easily. Long hours online won't solve this problem. Besides, you have no actual plan for working parents. I'm being forced to get my kids to work daily, sit them beside me, and dealing with them and doing my work isn't easy. What are your plans for working parents? You still have no plan yet. Also, why are younger kids sitting and doing too much online? They get bored easily and cannot focus much. It is a struggle for them and us. Please find a better solution or cut some of the hours. We can do weekly packets better than facing a screen half the day. Next comment was Stephanie Butler. She's noted here, but she's
addressed us
already
already, Secretary Lane. She addressed us already.
Yep. Faye Bazzi, a parent. Kids need to go back to school, not only for academic reasons, because the current process is ridiculous and their mental health is suffering. Next comment, Zahra El Hilo of Dearborn Heights. With the requirements set forth upon elementary students to attend Schoolology for class and specials sessions, as well as to complete and submit any work done independently. How are you expecting little children to manage that in homes where both parents are working parents? I have a very energetic 6-year-old child that needs constant directing, redirecting, and my job requirements prevent me from always doing so. He also does not focus long enough to sit at a screen for hours on end, and then to even do handwritten work independently on a consistent basis. Don't you think the expectations are unmanageable for a 6-year-old? Laura Baydoun says, I feel that the children are not learning to their full capacities virtually. They're getting tired of being alone with no interaction with others, which makes the work momentum much weaker. We need in-person learning. There really is no other way. Mrs. D of Dearborn, good evening. I would like to begin by showing gratitude to our school teachers and staff for their efforts in helping navigate the crazy start to the school year. They are doing the best they can, and it hasn't gone unnoticed. As for the virtual learning, what a mess. The fact that our children are able to go to any store and any restaurant, but schools couldn't allow for them to return safely is beyond me. The district had 6 months to prepare, and yet the first day of school, everyone is still guessing at what to do. Her children, especially elementary age, need to be in the classroom. They need social interaction. They need their teacher to interact with them in person. I'm sorry. They need to grow and learn, and sitting for a 6-year-old in front of a screen for +4 hours is ridiculous. Parents were given the opportunity to sign up for virtual learning if they so choose, but many of us are all ready for our kids to be back at school. Hence, why we didn't sign up for the virtual academy. At the very least, elementary students should be in school for the time they are online. Allow them in-person learning from 9 a.m. till lunchtime, and send them home to eat and do specials virtually. Do a quick temp check, and they can remain in the same room for those few hours and then send them home. Next, Miriam Baydoun. I believe that the children need to be back in school. My children are very confused and frustrated, and I don't feel like they are getting a full education learning online. They also need social interaction with other kids. I don't feel like the online school is going to work at all. Mrs. Victoria Post. My 2nd grader is struggling. This online learning is a lot of navigating for little ones. We follow the schedule, but it is clear where the links are. I think she means not clear. For example, today it said social studies from 1:20 till 2, and then a live Zoom meeting with Mrs. Robbins. But when we logged in for the Zoom at 2, apparently she was late. There need to be links and times in order so that kids just click down the list. If I am confused with a college degree, how are 7 and 8-year-olds supposed to navigate? Please contact me for further examples. And then she gives her phone number, but I don't want to dox her. Mrs. Amina Baydoun, parent of 2nd and 5th grader. First of all, the teachers are working very hard, and they need to be acknowledged for their patience. I'm a strong proponent for in-school instruction. I am sure if you were to poll the teachers and parents right now, the results would be majority in favor of returning to school. The parents and teachers should be given the option. If you want to be in person, you go. And if you don't, virtual school is available. How long are elementary students expected to be online in front of a computer? I find it unfair that the middle school and high school levels are expected to be on for 3 hours, and the younger students are expected to be on longer. Parents are having to continuously monitor children to keep them focused. It is hard for me to focus on anything other than what the teacher says, because if I carry on with the day, my children are lost academically. There shouldn't be more than a half day of online instruction. The rest of the day should be asynchronous work like the older students get. Do you want me to stop or something? I hear some background. No, go ahead. Mrs. Batul Bazi, parent. Students need to return to school, back to school. It is so difficult for parents to teach their children while working. My kids are not learning anything. They are 8 and 6 years old, being forced to sit in front of a computer for hours. They barely know how to type. They're missing so much from being around other students. My husband and I work full-time and are struggling with educating our kids. We have to get a tutor to help out. Private schools are all open and following safety procedures without issue. Why can't this be the case for Dearborn schools? Elementary students need structure and need to be with other children. Mrs. Bozzi, my daughter is attending kindergarten in the Dearborn Public Schools. Lower elementary school students, especially kindergarten kids, should be in the classroom. It is extremely hard for my daughter to sit in front of a computer for 4 to 5 hours a day. She does not like to do it, even with the help, me and her mother. She cannot focus. Please consider allowing the lower elementary kids to start attending school. They need to be in a classroom interacting face-to-face, even if it's with a face mask. Consider allowing them to attend in-person instruction, even if it's for half days for part of the week. Her teacher is doing a wonderful job, but these kids need to be in school face-to-face ASAP. Yasmin Mansour Hamid says, back to school for kids. Mrs. Altaweed. So far, I love my kids' teachers and I had 0 issues with them, but the amount of hours they and work the young kids have to do is unreal. I'm at the brink of keeping up. My kids are only in kindergarten and 2nd grade. Sitting for prolonged periods on computer bores them out in no times and shifts their attention. As a working parent, struggle to keep up. I'm considering removing them from public schools and doing homeschool with them until everything is normal. No child can sit 6 hours plus on online and then sit doing their homework afterwards. A lack of motivation isn't there. The district needs to understand that either eases it up a bit or have a better plan in action. Working parents struggle as is. This alone adds to a whole different stress. Matthew Post. Expecting grade school children to navigate this is ridiculous. My kids should have an easy way to log into each link. They should not be doing pre-recorded videos with 0 interaction and on the computer for so many hours a day. The kids are frustrated and sad. Our children need to be in school. I certainly hope that is what we are working towards. It is impossible for me to work because the kids need so much direction with where they go log in next. In addition to a schedule, we should receive a list of work to be done during the week. His second post here, Matthew Post, again, comments. My 3 children all go to Lindbergh. My question may be simple and I would hope already asked. However, as confusing as this is already for the children with the multiple links, passcodes, IDs, logins, etc. The children have been off since March. Please let me repeat myself one more time, since March, 6 months. And this program is the best Dearborn came up with. Shameful. And our children suffer because of this. So my suggestion is they should only have to log into Schoolology 1 time a day and leave the Zoom meeting open all day to ensure everybody is always in the same place and will not be able to miss the time schedule. The teacher should come to them as a collective class, not the currently awful way that is being conducted, where the kids have multiple links, YouTube, passcodes, logins, etc. The current is confusing for my 8 and 10-year-olds, and at times my wife and I. Next, the other problem, my wife and I are both essential employees. We both already exhausted our 10-week Corona relief leave. How does the school expect us to be with them for online learning and working a full-time job? This is all unrealistic, and the school board needs to reevaluate this curriculum so that children can navigate their own schedules online. The way it is now is too confusing for grade schoolers to follow. Next comment, Carolyn Kowalski. I appreciate the virtual learning is new to both teachers and students. However, from our own experience, my child is having difficulty focusing all day long, being on the computer for hours on end. The fun parts of being in school seem gone in this new virtual manner of learning, especially for the younger kids. More emphasis on the enjoyable aspects of schoolwork would go a long way in keeping the kids focused and happier for a longer period of time. For example, times to socialize with their friends, more sharing and interacting between students, educational games, more science, social studies lessons, etc. Thanks. Mrs. Jennifer Hazinski. Our children should be back in school after October 1st. The Catholic schools in the area have been successful. Sure, you have some teachers that can navigate technology and work the Schoolology site well, but many that cannot, and it is very frustrating for all parties involved. Our children shouldn't have to be online in front of a computer for this amount of time. It isn't healthy for them or our families. If families choose to do online, great, but those of us that are comfortable having our children in school should have that choice. Mrs. Kauthar Al-Sheikh Ali. Hi, I have two kids that are using Zoom, 1st and 4th grade, and most of the time we had a problem login, hearing and seeing the teachers. And I had a preschool son that he did not start yet and a 3-month-old baby. I spent all my time sitting with the 1st grade son, and every time I went away from him, he misses something because a 6-year-old, he cannot focus for 3 hours at least in front of a computer. You guys should make a Zoom meeting for half an hour in the morning and another in the afternoon for the attendance. And the rest of the day, you should use the same way like last year, video lessons. That's much easier for us because we are stressed out from this type of education. Thank you. Jennifer Fisher. As we look to possible continued virtual learning, there has been discussion on learning labs, but it has been talked about as if it were only for those who need additional instruction. What about those who excel in school, but from the enrichment overlooked and now are definitely not the time to skip over any student and how to help them excel? Thank you for your consideration. Mr. Ali Al-Jahmi says schools need to be open. This is chaotic. 1st graders are asked to use Zoom meetings and use 1 to 5 websites daily. They cannot even sort their food yet, and we are asking them to sort between websites. They are falling back. This will hurt them in the long term. Other schools across Michigan are back in class. We need to go back. Mrs. Zaina Ahmed. The administration need to consider a hybrid option for the elementary level. Many of the parents have expressed a frustration, anger, and feeling overwhelmed with the online schooling situation. Many of us are worried that our elementary students are going to fall further behind. Elementary students specifically need in-person instruction and one-on-one relationship with their teachers. Myself, as a parent and a 1st and 3rd grader, can relate to this. I'm spending my entire day with my children online and doing schoolwork. Technical issues are a major problem and are causing a lot of frustration for parents, students, and teachers. Teachers were not given enough instruction before they were expected to present Schoolology to our children. Also, the district needs to consider the parents who do not speak English well and are not familiar with using computers. The district should have considered a way to train them to use the computer. As a working parent and a student myself, I'm absolutely overwhelmed. Parents are taking out of their frustration on our amazing teachers, whom are equally frustrated. Some of our Hague families have pulled their children from our school and enrolled them in private schools because of this. Many more families will be doing the same if this continues. I understand the need to keep everyone safe during this time, but we feel we should have an in-person option at the elementary level. We are allowing sports to be played and in-person learning labs as well. Why not allow in-person instruction to the families who want this? We appreciate all the hard work that has been put forth by the committee and the administration, and we understand that this has been a difficult decision to make, but this is not working for families. We are stressed that the quality of our children's education is at stake. Please take into consideration all the families' needs by providing an in-person option. If transportation is the issue for hybrid, then parents who choose this option should have to provide transportation for their child. Donald Stuckey of Detroit. With the infection rate starting to creep up in Michigan and with case numbers for Dearborn continuing to be the highest in Wayne County, I hope the board will look out for the safety of the students and staff by keeping the district fully virtual for the month of October. Mr. Ali Ahmed of Dearborn. I'm concerned for the teachers being required to come into the building 2 days a week. If they have the technology and equipment to work from home, why are they forced to come into buildings with poor ventilation? I understand that if they have to staff learning labs, but if not, why are they forced to expose themselves and their families to potential COVID risk when this is unnecessary? Please allow the staff the choice to work from home or the school to minimize staff risk. Mrs. Lulu of Dearborn, Hague parent. It's very hard to work and have my children homeschool. I'm considering sending my kids to private school since some are open. My son cannot focus sitting there at a computer without supervision. I cannot quit my job to sit by him. You should consider sending the kids to school even if this has to be blended. The kids are not benefiting from online school at all. My son took a test this week and did horrible. He said most of the time he could not understand and he got tired of looking at the screen. Northville, Rochester, Bloomfield Hills, and so many more districts are back in school or have decided to go back October 1st. Yes, numbers in Dearborn have gone up, but you should consider it by zip code. 48124 and 48128 numbers are not high. Maybe 48126 should do online while the rest of us go back. Mr. Mark Treziniak of Dearborn. The expectation that any elementary student should be engaged online from 8:55 to 11:45 and again at 12:25 to 3:50 is unrealistic. Any student would have a hard time staying engaged for that time frame, let alone ones with learning disabilities or whatnot. This current short-sighted is furthering the educational divide amongst the most vulnerable students. Additionally, there are situations where parents need to go back to work for themselves and cannot monitor student engagement throughout the day. This is unfair to the teachers to expect them to be engaging while they are learning new learning platforms and doing Zoom crowd control. Katie Hetrick, parent. Greetings, Board of Education. I am writing to implore you to allow our children to start returning to in-classroom learning. It feels like the board is so busy hand-wringing over the very small statistical risk this disease poses for our children. They are willing to completely ignore the serious and possibly lifelong damage that is being done to our kids educationally, emotionally, and socially by isolating them at home. Online learning is not working. Children have many times the stress of learning in classroom for a tiny fraction of the results. My 7-year-old daughter is virtually chained to her computer for 7 hours a day, 5 days a week. Meanwhile, 2 weeks into school, my high-performing high school students have yet to have much meaningful work in many of their classes. Teachers are trying, but this is just not a great way for students to learn at any age. Besides significant lost potential, student learning online must deal with the additional stress, anxiety, and depression that comes from being isolated from their teachers and their peers. Dearborn schools gave parents who want an online learning an option to sign up for the virtual learning program. I applaud that decision. Some parents know online is the best choice for them and their families. Where is the choice for the rest of us? With proper precautions, we are now allowed to dine out, leisurely shop, and even exercise indoors. How then are we still not allowed to do the much more important work of properly educating our kids? As parents, we make decisions every day on what is best for our children. All of us have weighed the risk of returning to school versus the heavy cost of staying home, and most of us choose returning to school. When will we as parents be allowed to decide for our children? Warood Abdul Karim says, hi, I am a mom with 3 kids, 1 in 4th grade, 1st grade, and preschool. My daughters are having a lot of problems log in, and I can't keep doing Zoom at home. Mrs. Layla Macklid writes, I'm concerned with the lack of training the staff has received in Schoolology and Zoom. There have been constant struggles, leaving students' parents extremely stressed out. They should have waited to begin the school year and should now pause to let them learn how to navigate the new platforms. Most children are doing it on their own and home alone. You are setting them up to fail, not including that platforms can't even handle the use across the district. It's crashed, locked kids out multiple times. It's absolutely unacceptable. Mrs. Stacy Garcia says, is the school board preparing for a return to school plan? I have seen other public schools in different cities putting these plans in place. Us parents want our kids back face to face, slowly grade by grade for elementary, like Northville Public is preparing to do. If it has to be hybrid for high school, but as a parent, I want to see a plan for action to get our children back in school. Hyder Ali, we have a hard time doing online school. Malak Bazi, will the board have a better plan for the days to come? Will the board come together today to tell us they assess the school situation and yet find it in the best interest of everyone to remain virtual? Did the board really think about our kids' future and they are not learning through 2 hours of virtual learning? Since our city taxes are not getting reimbursed for the kids not attending school, why doesn't the board use the money and open up more buildings, dividing the classes up? It's frustrating to see other districts come up with better plans for the best interest of the teachers and students. Yet Dearborn has failed students and teachers, training teachers days before school starts and leaving parents wondering what's next until the start of school year is disappointing. I'm sure the board will not provide us with what's next. I'm sure at today's and every meeting, the only information will be given is that we assess the situation and we are extending virtual learning. Mrs. Hannah Barrow, online has been an absolute nightmare to say the least. These children need to be in a classroom learning. It will never happen by being at home looking at a computer screen. Mrs. Hamoud, if private schools, daycares, learning labs, and gyms are open, why can't public schools? Samira Ahmed writes, good evening. I would like to say that my son has expressed feeling sad that he has to have school online. He thrives on being around his peers at school and socializing with his friends. And it is very hard for him to sit long enough to finish a lesson. Paying attention at his age is hard enough in a classroom, let alone at home on a computer. I often find myself having to sit through the entire lesson and help along. I'm hoping that part will change and I will allow for more leeway for myself. I have another child and a part-time job working from home, so I'm trying very hard to juggle my life to help everyone. I would also like to say that I was very disappointed in the last-minute decisions our district made before the school year, waiting to decide on virtual or hybrid. I prefer hybrid for their mental well-being. And speaking of which, the classes do not allow for any children interacting with one another. How is this going to build their relationship skills or social emotional well-being? Why is there no student platform or classroom virtual talk, at least to let them say their hellos? Our children are losing out here on key skills for their overall health. Thank you. Mrs. Jennifer Gabrish. Considering Dearborn's increasing COVID numbers, I am urging the board to keep our kids at home. I just lost my place a second. Keep the kids at home for remote learning for at least another month. So far, I have been very impressed with the school's responsiveness and willingness to make remote learning work. The creativity and resilience aspect is a great lesson for both children and adults. Thank you for placing high priority on the health and safety of our students, staff, and families. Miriam Saad writes, I have a freshman and a senior. I just feel like kids don't concentrate or grasp much information from online, especially my 9th grader. They need to come back to school. Gada Pekovic, I work full-time and have 3 kids doing online schooling, home alone, and I cannot afford daycare. Mrs. Reem Baydoun writes, all schools need to open. Our children aren't okay being homeschooled. My daughter has picked up some very bad habits. She is biting her nails, biting on her pencil, and peeling the skin off of her hands. She is nervous and anxious, and her teacher is too fast-paced. It is too hard for them to focus at home with other children. Our income has been cut in half because I have to be at home with her and can't work. It's incredibly hard to not have our kids in school. They really are missing friends and social interaction. It's too difficult for working parents and mothers with young children. Parents who don't speak English. Teachers and parents should be able to decide if they want to be home or in school. For whoever wants to be homeschooled, they should stay home, and those who want to attend school should attend. Mrs. Baydoun, please open schools. This is too much on the students, parents, and teachers. Mrs. Merriam, hi, I want to ask if you can do like last year, the way of teaching online, because it's hard for us to have first grade and kindergarten and also 2-year-old baby. So it's hard to let them both focus without my help because each one of my kids needs assistance. They are small and they cannot be alone at the computer. Thank you. Mr. Mustafa Magrad. I know that the reopening plan took a lot of hard work and thought, but I have some issues I'd like to address. I've been helping many community members start school. Because of this, I have helped them pick up materials and go to the office in several schools. The office staff are never wearing masks. Many people are congregated in the hallway for what I am told is testing, and no one is even there to take my temperature or ask me questions. My own workplace is safer than this. After asking some teachers that live near me, I think the issue may be that too much time was spent planning without training or guiding staff on what to do. Your schools are unsafe, and I am not interested in going back to them in this state. I originally thought it would be better to have teachers in the building, but now I'm understanding their side of this and think we are putting them at risk by congregating them in buildings with others that aren't willing to follow the rules. Mrs. Sarah Jaffer. My son has been experiencing severe anxiety due to sitting idle on Zoom for 6 hours at a time for kindergarten. Science has proven that a 5-year-old cannot sit idle for approximately 5 minutes at a time. We cannot continue to passively watch our kids learn to hate school. We cannot continue to consent to our children getting a subpar education. I cannot listen to another parent explain to me their child's meltdown, including mine, because they do not want to sit in front of a screen for hours on end. I demand that a change is made to this online curriculum for our elementary children. I demand less screen time and more packet and activity learning. I demand more breaks and recess for my child for exploration and play. I demand that a change is made before my child needs to see a therapist due to this incomprehensible education you call school. Find another way. Reem Ozier. Elementary online schooling is not working for our kids nor our teachers. Their school year is being robbed. My 9-year-old needs help all the time. My 5-year-old cries every day during her Zoom. She can't concentrate nor put effort towards learning. This is mental and social abuse that the system is imposing. They need to go back to school. Please consider a hybrid option. We are okay with masks, no matter how hard we try. They need a school structure at this level. I'm praying that you consider this for their future and mental and physical growth. Mrs. Maya Mazoum. I have a first grade kid and a preschool kid to a newborn baby. I can't do it on Zoom, especially because I'm going to be back to my work at the end of the month. Mrs. Lauren Garner. Hello, my name is Lauren, and I'm a teacher and a member of the Michigan Caucus of Rank and File Educators. We are a group of about 10,000 Michigan teachers. Several of our leaders are teachers in Dearborn Public Schools. Your teachers have shown up in my district and many others to fight for safety. They've come to board meetings and planned Lansing rallies to support of safety measures that protect students and teachers from exposure. It is so setting that Dearborn would put teachers at risk by forcing them in the building. I understand they are not needed for learning labs, and I understand that this was negotiated by your teachers union. What I never seem to understand is why school boards What I don't understand is why school boards and districts will not go beyond the bargaining unit to just simply do the right thing. There are not students in the learning labs right now, so why should your staff be forced to go in? If your labs are only half the day for the elementary teacher, why do they need to go in for the entire day? Why are special area teachers at the elementary level running labs for subjects they are not even certified to teach in? The right and safe thing is to have staff home every minute that they can be to reduce risk for everyone. Just because the Dearborn Federation of Teachers was unable to negotiate, that does not mean you cannot grant it. The only explanation that I can really come up with is that you feel the need to force your teachers together on your time. You claim this is to reduce the working hours outside of the contracted day, but fail to acknowledge the enormous burden you've put on them in terms of workload. I would be astounded if the Dearborn teachers are able to teach, run learning labs, handle all tech questions, log attendance and communication, learn Schoolology, hand out materials for families that missed packet pickup, answer emails, attend IEP meetings, hold PLCs, and grade homework and assessments, all within the contracted day. Their plates are too full. This isn't even taking into account the stress of exposing themselves to the illness in the building, taking care of their own children's remote education, or what seems like their endless dedication to helping teachers and students in other districts. I have seen members of your staff have panic attacks, break down, and cry in public over how much they have to do. It is more than neighboring districts. And now we are hearing that one building has already had a staff member or members test positive and their staff have to remain home. Why risk your other staff in other buildings? Why would the right and ethical thing be to allow these teachers to stay home like the majority of working professionals? Mrs. Mona Mawari, what is the school board doing regarding the widespread bullying of Yemeni American students in the Dearborn Public Schools? After an anti-Yemeni discriminatory incident that happened by business in Dearborn, a Dearborn social media platform created a forum for people to submit their anonymous stories of anti-Yemeni discrimination. They received over 150 submissions, which many of them were stories of Yemeni American students being bullied in the Dearborn Public Schools. I have witnessed Yemeni students being bullied, and my daughter was also bullied for being Yemeni. What are you doing to ensure teachers and faculty are aware of the colorism within the Arab community? If they're not aware of the problem, they likely won't be able to recognize this form of bullying when it happens. And bullying can have a long-lasting impact on kids. What are you doing to ensure your schools are a safe haven for all? That looks like that is the extent of the comments.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. You know what, Trustee Lane, you deserve a medal, but the only thing we can say is thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.